Yeah, so when I came back to Greenwich, I was really lucky to get given another chance at abstinence and to be surrounded by so much recovery. I was able to find abstinence again. So I've been abstinent now since 2015, and I think it was April I came back. Um, so yeah, how much is that? 15, coming up to 7 years this year, God willing, which is amazing. And I don't even think about time anymore. In the past, I used to be so wrapped up in, oh, I'm 1 year's abstinent. Oh, I'm 2 years, I'm 3 years. And now I just don't even think about it. I really have to, when I do a chair and I speak, I have to really think about the dates because it is just a one day at a time program. And I think coming back this time, I just really had the willingness because um, after being in relapse and after being in denial about being in relapse for so long, and then actually when the disease got so bad again that it was as worst as it had ever been, and I couldn't stop eating. It just got really, really bad, and they say it's a progressive illness, and I really, really experienced that. I just ended up doing things that I hadn't done before and hit another rock bottom. So I just really had the willingness coming back. And what I realized as well is, I just had to relax into the program a bit more. I think I was just so uptight before when I was in program, about always trying to do the right thing and trying to balance everything. And I was always quite stressed about being in program, just stressed about everything basically. So coming back this time, yeah, I've just felt more at peace about being in program, really wanting to be here instead of feeling like I needed to be here. I really wanted to be here. And um yeah, I just got a sponsor straight away. I didn't even know the person before, but somebody had suggested, oh, these people are abstinent, you can ask them. And I asked one and she was full, and I was just so desperate. I said, I'm desperate. And I think she just took one look into my eyes and she couldn't say no. So she agreed to be my sponsor, and she's still my sponsor today, which is amazing. And yeah, so just going back to the numbers, I guess my highest weight was probably about a couple of stone more than what I am now. So I was um, 2.5 stone more. So I think I was pushing 12 stone or something. That was my heaviest. And now I don't weigh myself regularly, but the last time I got weighed at the hospital, it was 9.5 stone. And that is really like right dead middle in the BMI chart for me. It's a really, really healthy weight. And I'm just so grateful that I don't have to diet. When it came to New Year's, I don't have to think about what resolution am I going to do this year. I just keep working my daily program. I work the steps, I use the tools, and just keep doing that one day at a time. Um, and sorry, I'm just going to go and close the door. Um, and Yeah, just in case I forget, I find when I do chairs, I always come to the end and I think, oh my God, I've not even mentioned my higher power, using the tools, the steps. And yeah, I mean, coming into program this time round, I was able to really nurture that relationship with my higher power. Whereas I think before, um, I saw my sponsor as my higher power, and that's not their fault. It was just where I was. And, rather than really relying on my higher power, I was going to my sponsor all the time. And so, yeah, I don't think that relationship had really had time to grow um, and be nurtured, and for me to really trust in that higher power. And so this time round, I found that that's been the main difference. Um, Yeah, and I don't know how that came to be. I guess maybe just hitting another rock bottom and just getting desperate enough and just surrendering, I guess. It's that word surrender. And I'm not saying that it's not recommended to keep, going back into relapse, but I felt like I've always been a slow learner in this program. I've always had to learn the hard way. I grew up being told that by my parents that I always had to learn things the hard way. And I found that to be true with the 12 steps as well in this program. Um, But yeah, just going back to what it was like, just very briefly, you know, my story is not unique. And when I first came into program, it was the first time that I'd heard about, you know, people sharing openly about what they'd done with food. And I could really identify that. That was just so liberating for me because, you know, it was just a really big secret that I was just carrying around with me. And so when I heard about other people taking things out of the rubbish, you know, stealing food, hiding food. For me, the biggest thing was because I was traveling when I first found program and I was staying in hostels and shared rooms, I was taking food into toilet cubicles and eating secretly. And that for me, it was just so shameful. And when I heard somebody sharing about that, that was amazing for me. Just to have that identification and to know that I wasn't alone. And then after that, there were just so many other things that I related to that I'd never heard anyone speak about out loud. Um, and, you know, I tried all sorts of methods of control. And again, you know, I found out that I wasn't the only one that did these crazy things. You know, I'd done loads of diets. I ordered um, diet pills off the internet, which were basically like amphetamines, you know, and I didn't get any sleep. And then as soon as I stopped taking them so that I could have some sleep, you know, the binging would just be even worse. I tried hypnotism. I tried um, chewing and spitting out into a bag because I tried throwing up and I couldn't do that. I even tried turning to alcohol because I thought, you know, taking a drink would be better than, you know, eating food and gaining weight. Um, and luckily that experiment didn't work either because I realized that being an alcoholic would not be a great thing either. But, you know, just all of these crazy methods just to not eat, just to, you know, I just wanted to be anorexic. I know that is a really crazy thing to say, but just be a little bit anorexic, but I could never do that. I could skip the odd meal, but I couldn't successfully, you know, stop eating for really long periods of time. I just couldn't do it. I tried the exercise, you know, all these methods of control, and things might work for a very short while, but I would always inevitably go back to the food, and the binging would always be worse when I went back. And and yeah, so when I came in, yeah, just they say that this program is a design for living, and it really is. Um, I didn't realize how, I mean, I saw myself as, I think I was a functioning compulsive overeater because I still had my own apartment. I had a mortgage that I was able to pay. I wasn't in debt. I had a good job. You know, I had friends, you know, I had all of these things on the outside, but inside I just felt so depressed. And I didn't think about taking my own life, but it always occurred to me, you know, things would be much better if I was, you know, if I wasn't here. Things just felt too hard because, and all of this was just related to my weight. You know, I didn't have any real problems, but I just didn't know how to live. And I had this massive eating problem that was just hung over me all of the time. Um, and so I had a living problem. And that's what I learned when I came into program. I didn't realize that all of my you know, the way that I dealt with life, the way that I dealt with people in my life and relationships, you know, it was sick. I didn't know how to handle things. You know,
Half,
and only that's,
half,
sorry, what was the time?
5 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I didn't realize that, you know, on the surface everything looked okay, but when you dug really deep, you know, I used to argue with my parents all the time. Me and my mother had you know, used to have really awful arguments. And you know, friends, if they would wrong me, they would go in my little black book and I wouldn't speak to them. You know, I was always falling out with friends. um I was hanging on to these huge resentments from like years and years ago, just really harboring these bad feelings against people. So yeah, when you looked really deeply, things weren't going so well, I guess. And so I learned all of that in program. And so the very first time that I went through the steps, it was amazing. You know, I shared things from my step 4 with a sponsor that I'd never shared with anyone. And I was able just to get everything down on paper and just really just take a look at it, and, working through the steps, just becoming willing to make those amends, and then actually following through with that action and making those amends. I mean, it was immense. Who else gets to do this without working the steps? We don't want to do these things, um, voluntary. I needed the steps to take these actions and just to do it. But I didn't want to go back to compulsive overeating. So it was just a no-brainer. I just wanted to do it. Um, and and yeah, so this time round, I worked the steps again, and just recently, when the pandemic started, I worked through the steps again, and just really got into it more deeply. And then what I've realized is, I've gone through so many difficult things without having to go back to the food, which is amazing. Last year, I lost my dad. Um, he was very sick for a while, but I was able to spend his last couple of months with him before he died. And, the step work, it started way before he got ill. The forgiveness process started way before it came to that point. And I think for me in program, because I've had quite a difficult relationship with my parents, and it's always been in the back of my mind. I don't want to get to that point where I've got regrets. That would just, I didn't know how I'd be able to live without with having regrets about, how I've treated my parents or my relationship. So, through the steps, the forgiveness started. And then when it actually came to the really important part of when he was, really getting sick, I was able to, tell him that I loved him, and he told me that he loved me. And we don't talk about these things in our family. We don't talk about these emotions. Dad never showed his emotions to us. Um, and so, that was because of the program. That was really because of the program that I was able just to let go of my ego and my pride and just go, oh, I love you, Dad. Thank you for, this and that, and just have that peace around it. And now I can just let him rest in peace, rest in peace. Um, and I've gotten married. I didn't have to eat the cake. I've had loads of birthdays. I haven't had to eat the cake. I've had Christmases. I haven't had to eat the cake or the chocolate. Um, I've had really difficult, things with family still, but I haven't had to eat over it. The pandemic, haven't had to eat over it. Um, and that for me is just the program. It doesn't mean that life is going to be absolutely amazing, but it just means that I don't have to go through it with turning to the food. And I'm so, so grateful for that. And it is just one day at a time. And I'm here today and I'm sharing, and I never thought that this was going to happen. And, that this is all part of the program for me, and having a higher power in my life. I just don't know what's going to happen, but um, yeah, I just place my trust in my higher power and in this program and in the strength of the meeting as well. When my higher power doesn't feel so strong and I don't have that connection, I can rely on my fellows. This fellowship is amazing. I'm here, I'm one among many. And I think that's the important thing. I'm unique in a way, but I'm also just one among many. And my phone is going. I think my time is nearly up.
Yes, 3 seconds and time. Yeah.
So I will leave it there. I'm just so grateful to be abstinent and to be part of this fellowship. And thank you for keeping me abstinent. I'll leave it there.